We're here at the Citizens Electoral Commission event in South Perth, and they're talking about the bank separation and the Glass-Steagull Act that needs to be addressed by the government. So we'll be bringing you some information about what this event is all about and interviewing some of the attendees as well as the committee members.
I'm president of the BFCSA, which is a support group for banking and finance victims. So that people with toxic mortgages, unaffordable mortgages, are the ones that normally come to me asking for me to investigate their cases and see whether or not we can negotiate with the banks to do something about these mortgages.
It's a very interesting topic, toxic mortgages this day and age, with the Royal Commission that's recently happened around banking. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, why we call them toxic is because they were unaffordable on day one. And they don't run into default for 5 years because they're propped up with more debt, eating the equity out of their existing home. So people find themselves trapped in a situation where they own their own home, they've worked hard for it all their lives, and then they just can't save their home from being stolen by the banks. That's what we're doing.
Sure. So how do people get into these toxic loans from day one?
The banks send out an army of spruikers to spruik people by phoning them at home, answering a knock at the front door. These are the banks. You don't know the banks are behind them until they come into your lounge room, and then the bank logo is on the documentation.
So Barry, how can local community members get involved with events like this and especially be active in something as concerning as the finances and the banking system, which basically can concern every Australian around their mortgage and around their household?
Sure. Well, they can get involved with simple things as contact the CEC, get copies of the Glass-Steagull legislation. That was actually tabled, as you probably know, on Monday by Bob Catter and seconded by Andrew Wilkie from Tasmania. But we need the support of the everyday person to ring in, get copies of this legislation and take it to their MPs and senators and say, look, we voted you in. We know what's happening now, that the global economy as well as Australia is looking pretty sick, and we need separation of the banks to stop them from stealing our deposits.
Josh, tell us, what's your involvement with the CEC committee?
Yes, I've been a member of the Citizens Electoral Council since 2011. I love the ideas. I love the people who are involved, and it's only in the last couple of years I've decided to get really serious about it, just with donations and subscribing to their printed material and so forth.
It seems like a brilliant event, and it's really raising awareness. What would you say to encourage other people to get involved?
I would say first get a copy of some of our written material, be it the copy of the Australian Alert Service or one of the publications that you can find on the Executive Intelligence Review website, and go from there, or get in touch with one of our members if you have any questions.
Are you concerned for the greater wellness of the Australian community in terms of what could happen if there is a financial and a banking crisis?
Well, yeah, because what sort of situation have we sort of put it into for our generation and then the next generation and so on? How are they going to afford to do anything? Like, this is going to be out of their reach. Prime Minister's an ex-banker, so who's he going to be looking after? The bank?
I'm Tadros for Undercurrent.